Hey friends, today we're talking about solving systems of equations with substitution. Okay, so to solve a systems of equations using algebra, we can substitute one of these in for y. What I mean by that is we're going to replace the y with the 2x, meaning we're going to set these two pieces equal to one another. So when we do that, we can take x away from both sides, and we're left with x equals a negative 3. Okay, so you first write the equation, plug in whatever one of your equation is in for y, because this equals y, and then we're going to subtract both sides, x, so that way we get our variables on one side and our integers on the other. When we simplify, we get that negative 3. Okay? So, since we know that x equals negative 3 and y equals 2x, then we know that y equals negative 6. Why? Because if we plug in negative 3 in for x, we get negative 6. So we can also test this by graphing. Now that we know how to graph, we can test this by putting both these equations in a graph and checking to make sure that our point is exactly negative 3 comma negative 6. Okay, so let's look at a few more. I want you to try these two. You're going to substitute for y either x plus 4 into one equation or the other. Okay, so you have been given two equations in each system, and you're going to solve for x and y. Go ahead and pause the video and try it. I'll be back in just a second to show you how it's done. Okay, so the first step is plug one of them in for the other. So since they both equal y, I'm going to do 2 equals x plus 4 because I'm going to substitute 2 in for y. Okay? So I'm going to move the 4 to both sides, and x equals a negative 2. All right, now I'm going to plug that back into the original equation. Y equals negative 2 plus 4, so y equals a positive 2. So the point on the line where they both intersect is at negative 2 comma 2. All right, let's look at this one. I'm going to plug in my 3x for y, so 3x equals x minus 6. I'm going to take x away from both sides. I'm left with 2x equaling negative 6. Divide by 2 on both sides to get x by itself, and x equals negative 3. I'm going to plug that back into this equation. Y equals negative 3 minus 6, so y equals negative 9. If I plugged it back into this other equation that has the x in it, notice this one didn't have an x, so I could only use 1. But if I plug it into this one, it still works. I still get negative 9 equaling my y. So the point is negative 3 comma negative 9. All right, so steps to solve a substitution when it's in standard form. You first have to solve one equation for one of the variables. Okay, so I'm going to add y on both sides, so I get x equals y plus 11. Okay, so then I know what x is. Then substitute the resulting expression into the other equation. So if we know what x is, we can plug in y plus 11 into this equation. Okay, so that's the second step. The third step is to then solve for one of the variables, so x would equal 10 in this case, and then finally solve for the remaining variable by checking and check that both y equals negative 1 and x equaling 10 again in the other equation. Okay, so let's try this one. That's only if we needed to put it in standard form. So if we don't have them both in standard form, we use one that's in the slope-intercept form, and we can still plug this one in. So the first step is to go ahead and plug in the 3x plus the 8 into this equation. When we do that, we have to distribute the 4 to both sides, and we get 8x plus 12x equals plus 32 equals 12. Then we simplify by combining our like terms, and then we have to simplify again by combining these like terms. 20x equals negative 20, so x equals negative 1. Okay, so that's that step. Let's move those over. Then the second step is we replace, oops, I gotta move that even further, is since x equals negative 1, we replace negative 1 in the equation to find the y value. So when we plug it in, the solution of the system is going to be negative 1 comma 5, because we're going to plug in the negative 1 in for x. Okay, so let's try a couple. All right, if you want to try these, I put the answers there so you can see them just to double check your work as you go. But go ahead and try these two systems, and I will be back in just a second to show you the answer. Okay, so we are going to plug in to this equation the negative 2x plus 3 in for y, which equals x. So I'm going to combine these like terms. Even though they're in parentheses, that plus sign does nothing to them. So it's negative 5x plus 3 equals 8. Take 3 away from both sides. Negative 5x equals 5. Divide by negative 5. X equals negative 1. Okay, so there's my negative 1. Now I got to plug this into the equation. You can pick either because they both have x in them. I like to use the standard form ones. I think it's easier because it's already got the y equaling something. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Got to have a plus sign there for the 3. So I get positive 2 plus 3 equaling my y, so y equals 5. So it works. We got the right answer. Okay, you could even plug this one into the other equation. Negative 3 times negative 1 plus 5, does that equal 8? This is 3 plus 5, so yes it does, so it checks. Over here, I'm going to plug this one into this equation, so 3x plus 4 times 2x plus 1 equals 26. So 3x plus 8x plus 4 equals 26. Combine my like terms and move this 4 over to the other side. So 11x equals 22. Divide by 11, x equals 2. We're going to plug back x in for 2. I'm going to use this one because it looks easier. Y equals 2 times 2 plus 1. So 4 plus 1 equals 5. So we get a point 2 comma 5. All right. And that's all I've got for you, so I will see you next time.